multi-guest button to request.
Proud, how do I join?
Hit the multi-guest at the bottom. It's a little pink and blue button.
I think there's actually an open spot, so if somebody's trying to get up, shouldn't be a problem.
Tell her it's Alan. Make sure it's Alan. Jeez.
Oh my god.
There we go. That was quick.
Hola, amigos. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I heard you guys talking about 15 degrees per hour, some ring laser gyros, some mechanical gyros, etc. Are you guys familiar with before we get into the measurements themselves, which I don't deny, do you guys know the distinguishing factor between kinematics and dynamics?
Oh, they just want to bring up QFT.
Whatever I say is the answer is probably not going to satisfy you. So what's going on?
No, it's okay. It's not a setup. It's just a general baseline so we could all kind of understand the same thing.
I can absolutely tell by your tone it's a setup. Just tell us what it is.
Okay. Kinematics and dynamics. Kinematics means measurement. In kinematics, relative motion is true, meaning if we're in a car and I'm moving towards you in the car, you could equally say from a kinematic perspective that I'm stationary in the car and you're moving towards me. Does that make sense? Because we're applying any causal mechanism.
Measurements.
It's explicit. Okay.
You can do entirely theoretical kinematics.
You know what? I'm going to drop for level devil on this one.
Sure.
Right. So if you have a measurement of some velocity, right, all you have is motion, right? So you could, and in kinematics, it could go either way. So when we talk Earth rotation versus sidereal rotation of the sky, which is what's being measured across the timeline. But
they muted me from the chat.
But in kinematics, right, with just the measurement,
unsurprising,
right, just the 15 degrees per hour, just the motion, it could go either way as a baseline. Would you agree with that as a premise?
I really could care less. How does a gyroscope measure movement of the sky rather than of what it's placed on?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about specifically in regards to kinematics and dynamics, right? Because the measurement alone can't tell us which is rotating, the Earth or the sky. If they both have the same rotation rate, what was it? What's sidereal time? 23.56 or something like that. So if they have the same
how
time,
is the sky affecting a gyroscope? How would the sky be affecting a gyroscope such that it could be?
I'm going to get to that. So my position is that there is an ether wind with respect to a stationary Earth that facilitates the measurements. So earlier in the chat, there was Quantum Field Enjoyer who was asking about the Chandler wobble and the different types of wobbles that are measured with ring laser gyros. Well, what's actually measured there, right? They have the single measurement, and then they that they take throughout the day, and then they plot the peaks of the minimum and maximum fluctuations of the speed of light throughout the day. What? You can bring him up and he can verify this. I know what I'm talking about. I mean, if you don't know, it's okay. No, I'm not here to.
No, ether wind is a joke, and I said, give me a break.
Oh, what's your contention with ether? What can I do to answer any questions you have about it before we continue on as that going? Because that's going to be my mechanism for the measurement. So to help you better understand my position, what could I answer for you, sir?
So can you give me some experiments or any kind of paper that proves how an ether works or ether wind, please?
Yeah, so starting back from the 1850s with Fazal, there was a hypothesis from Fresnel who was deriving how much velocity addition a translucent media would affect, like how much of that motion would translate to light. And that hypothesis was derived under a relative density. Can
you just give me some citations to scientific papers that prove dynamics of an ether wind, please?
Yep, I got you. I got a whole list of them. Here we go. You ready?
Phenomenal, yes.
All right, ether wind. Here we go.
Just last names and dates.
Yep. I got you. Okay. So we have Fresnel in 1851 on the hypothesis relating to the luminiferous ether, and an experiment which appears to demonstrate the motion of the bodies alters the velocity of light propagation. So that's one, right? And then we have Airy's failure, 1872.
How do you
spell
that?
Airy, Airys.
Okay.
That's 1872. This is titled "On the Supposed Alteration on the Amount of Astronomical Aberrations of light proposed by the passage of light through considerable thickness of refractive medium. So earlier we were talking about translucent materials and ether wind stuff. So that's one that supports that as well. And then, of course, we have Michelson-Morley, 1887. We have, continuing after that, we have the Sagnac effect in 1911. Then after that, we have Michelson-Gale
Can you go
Pearson
over
in
how the
19...
Sagnac effect supports an ether wind, please?
Yes. So when you have a stationary interferometer on the Earth at any given latitude, you will have a latitude-dependent variance in the speed of light that fluctuates throughout the day. When you plot the minimum and maximum peaks of the speed of light throughout the day against sidereal time, it makes a sine wave. They account that as Earth rotation. I count that as ether rotation being translated down from the sky. And to substantiate that, right, because here's where we're going to get into the real issue, right? We have all these measurements so far that I've listed, excuse me a second, at altitude or at sea level, basically, like not very high above sea level. So those measurements alone can't really tell us, which is moving, sky or if the Earth is rotating, right? Now, what you can do is introduce another variable and take the interferometers to altitude. And when they started taking them to altitude, which was shown by Dayton Miller in 1925, again by Yuri Galev in 1997 or 1991, and then repeated with another type of interferometer in 2002 by Galev again at different locations all across the world. So what we actually have is, or what they found is that the velocity measurements that they were making would increase as they went up to altitude, which shows a correlation to the causal mechanism of the rotation being the sky. So the closer you get to the thing that's moving, the faster the ether drift is there. And that's what was measured. That's how I interpret the measurements. Because otherwise, the globe and relativity theory it's not fair to say globe, but relativity theory being the premier cornerstone of physics doesn't predict a variance at altitude. It maybe, if we can get into the specifics, it maybe predicts a fringe shift for ground measurements, right? But in terms of increasing to altitude, it can't be. So
nailed him. Well done.
Differ on that. You have any questions?
Love it.
Mr. Space
What's up?
I do.
Taylor was gonna do the alley-oop. The pre-dunk.
First of all, is there any other reasons why we need an ether for light propagation or anything? And why would they ever get rid of the ether?
QFT shaking in his boots right now.
That's a great question, Taylor.
I don't know who that is, but I like it.
Grabbed that
All the way
mic.
to Fazao in 1851.
Francis is not cut out for this. That's why he crickets.
That first experiment where they were
Post
measuring
crickets.
the velocity
He was still
of
super
water,
condescending, though. He's just quietly condescending now.
percent proportional ratio. to
Yeah, because the two
velocity
Globers in the
of
comment
water
section won't come up and grab a mic.
to the
He's
two
pissed.
beams that are split going with it.
His health is not helping.
44% faster going with the water, 44% slower going against. And then again, that was derived under the relative density ether hypothesis for translucent medium, where the density the ether density in the medium is proportional to the refractive index squared, which is really interesting because that's highly precise, and you don't just do that by accident. But anyway, as we continue on, light needs a medium to propagate in. The only reason that was thrown out was because of the results of Michelson-Morley. But again, we just learned that they could measure translational velocity with respect to absolute space. And then when they went to try and test that in 1887, they had a computed value for how much fringe displacement they should receive if the Earth is traveling at 30 kilometers a second. Because the cool thing about interferometry is the measurements of velocity are absolute, and then because the distance between the fringes, the square of that distance is proportional to the velocity. That's what they figured out with Fazao and a couple other experiments leading up to Michelson-Morley. So they had the exact ratio correct, and this was like a definitive measurement of Earth's velocity. And previous to this measurement, all they had for substantiating the correctness of heliocentrism is using Kepler's laws and then using algebra to shuffle in Newtonian dynamics, meaning they introduced the big G for the gravitational constant and the big M for the mass of the sun. But you can get all those by backwards, or we can get into how they took those measurements, but let's just take them as is for now. Let's say they're Legitskys. When you apply them to the sky, everything has to be moving at certain velocities to complete their orbits, because of the Kepler's laws are actually just a ratio of a constant over the periodicity, just meaning how long it takes to complete a circuit in the sky. So when you have that relationship and you do the same thing with constants, it's always going to be a ratio of the original periodicity. So that's why they're backwards compatible. So even though it's cool that GMM over R squared shows the same relationship with Kepler's laws, it's not actually physically meaningful because the mass in the equations cancels out. And like I said earlier, if you're ratioing constants against a periodicity, it's always going to share proportionality. And that's how they maintain the equivalence between the two. So Michelson-Morley was supposed to be a definitive test of Earth's velocity through a conceptualized stationary ether, which is static because that was the model that they were interpreting it under. Anyway, they computed the value for Earth's orbital velocity. They measured the fringes. They didn't get the displacement that they needed. It came out to be 6 to 8 kilometers a second, and they needed 30 kilometers a second for their to substantiate Kepler's laws and Newtonian dynamics as applied to the sky. So from that, they had to re-examine things, right? So you could say that you could introduce relativity theory from there and say link contraction time dilation, and that's actually what Hendrik Lorentz tried to introduce, but using ether as the mechanism for the compression for the molecular structure of the apparatus moving through it. But that you couldn't if you read Michelson-Morley at the end there before it gets to the supplement by Lorentz at the end, Michelson talks about how. Oh, thank you for muting that. That was echoing in my ear a little bit. I appreciate that. Let's see here. So if you read the end of Michelson-Morley, he says, Lorentz's theory doesn't apply here.
One sec, space.
Hold on, I'm almost done. Please, give me 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
You have been monologuing like you would not believe.
Yeah.
She asked me a question about ether.
Okay,
you're not answering.
Look. So you're not answering. You just doing your flirt monologue.
Okay, hold on one second.
As a flirt monologue.
Wait, is it just me? Does he sound like Gene Takeman 2.0?
Oh my God.
I mean, seriously.
We could back it up.
Space.
Okay, what's up?
If you believe this is true and everything else like that, why don't you write a scientific paper that people can work with?
Yeah, people have tried to write scientific papers about this, but it's a highly censored subject because it directly contradicts heliocentrism entirely. Because as I stated earlier, the measurements of velocity are absolute. Please don't interrupt me. I'm not playing talk over again.
No, space. I don't care. I will talk over you. I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
It's quite simple. If you think it's true, write a paper. And it's not.
He's there because he doesn't know anything.
You write a proper scientific paper. And
he just listed a bunch of papers. Why is he
it
telling
will
me
be
he's the right one? This is so stupid.
That
wasn't
never read a paper
censored.
in his life. Why can I find every paper you're mentioning to me if it's so censored?
That was a paper.
Well, the papers that I listed to you. Hold on one second, Francis. I'm going to answer his question, please. The papers that I listed are the mainstream papers that are interpreted as null results and or as proof of relativity theory through using velocity composition, which also agrees with Galilean velocity composition. So there's actually no distinction. But this is just a reinterpretation of the measurements for these in particular. Now, people that try to build other ether theories and build off of that, those do not get published in mainstream journals. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, where are they? I can find them? Yes, no?
I mean, I can give you some, but they're on ResearchGate and Argos and stuff like that.
They're not, okay, so they're not censored. They're out there.
That's the thing.
Most people talk about litigation.
Are they censored or are they not accepted? There's a difference.
Sure, I suppose you could draw a distinction between the two. They are out there, but they are absolutely not accepted.
They're not accepted.
They're not.
Okay, so there's a difference.
They're not censored. They're not censored. They're unaccepted.
I would argue both.
Why they're wait a minute. And why they're they're unaccepted is because they're wrong. And that's the thing.
How would you know?
You can go across. You can go across with your little monologue and stuff like that. All those papers you have been proven wrong.
No,
way to talk about stuff you literally have never heard of and say it's all wrong.
How were they proven wrong?
Actually, wait a minute, space. You want me to tell you how they're proved wrong?
Yeah, just pick any paper and we'll go through it and you can tell me how it was proven wrong.
No, stop. And you want to know the thing is you're using technology that is not based on that. You're using technology that is based on pretty much the science of a heliocentric model.
Nice. GPS schooling
incoming.
Ready?
You're using. I think you're a little confused there.
No, I'm not a little confused there. Every single piece of technology we're using right now is based basically right down to the core from the heliocentric model. Gravity, all those bits and pieces are all in the technology you're using right now. It's as simple as that.
Can I ask him a question about the
Taylor, please chill for a sec. Okay, so heliocentric stuff, right? All we've ever measured is little g. Nobody uses big G for any technology that I'm currently using. You would have a better argument saying that quantum electrodynamics has explanatory power over the technology I'm using, but then you would be subject to acknowledging that everything is derived from Schrodinger's wave equation, and that the physicality aspect of quantum entanglement or quantum electrodynamics is interpreted through.
I'm literally going to
do
turn
not,
around and
bro.
say, wait a minute, no.
Listen,
I
can't even finish my point. I can't even finish.
Space, you've interrupted him like 6 times.
Anyway, it's quite simple. I will turn around and say, cool story, blow. If you want to fucking ramble on like that, go to a Flirt Live. All the shit you were saying has been proven wrong.
Dude, I think that was perfect. You did
it's
plenty.
as simple as that.
The guys retarded. They have no idea, right?
The ether
but
is
you,
not
you
real.
nailed him, dude. That was excellent. Way to keep your composure.
It's as simple as that.
Thank you, sir.
I also
If
think
we
it's
don't
been
cut you off,
proven
dude, you'll talk forever.
You gotta know, bro.
So
we
many
live at a time
times.
where censorship has never been as
So you gotta know
it's pretty
that
much
going
reduced to
in there.
nothing
Okay,
compared to how it
you gotta know
is.
that
We have an unprecedented
because they're
we're
not
getting our
gonna
thoughts
address
out.
anything, bro.
Fuck.
We press them on
I don't know why people
interferometric,
shit on
we press them
archive.
on
Like,
stellar
I
parallax
don't
or negative
read
parallax.
journals
press them
anymore. I
on
spend most of my time on there.
Earth. We press them
Censorship is
on
admirable. If you release this to the public,
signal
I will
propagation over
physically
long
harm
distances.
you.
They don't
Not
have
being
no
accepted by a
reference,
journal
bro.
is
That's what they're gonna do.
scientists
They're gonna
saying
release
this
you,
has
they're gonna take your
zero
mic, they're gonna talk
value
over you,
or
and they're gonna
truth.
non-sequitur
There's
way out of the position. That's what they do.
That's a real shame. We should host our own Space Sacred right now.
What I've been trying to tell y'all, bro. This is why I say, bro, they are not used to this. Look how uncomfortable you made them by.
Oh yeah, dude. They were like, "Oh, get up! Look, you're wrong. I know that you're wrong."
Being proud and saying, yo, they need this because once we go over there, we're gonna take that shit the same.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, why is Sacred so loud, so like breaking up? And why can I hear Alan's typing so loud? I can't hear Sacred and I can super hear Alan. All right, hold on. No, everyone's at equal volume for me. It must be you guys.
Yeah, no, it's like if there's other audio coming through my mic when I'm speaking, I can't hear. My bad.
Oh yeah, you got inferior speaker. That's what happens when there's any other sound. You get demoted in the priority, and nobody can hear you. There were some people that used to have that by default on Discord for inexplicable reasons that nobody ever figured out.
Hey, they blocked me from that live when I was in there because I was asking QFT. I was like, "Yo, this is Alan. You said that you was going to debate him. He's here."
Yo, who's
like,
QFT?
Some nerd.
Yeah, some nerd.
Is it like a popular Glober that you guys have interacted with?
He's like the Blitz 1B. Like 1A is Blitz and 1B is QFT. Like,
oh,
Yo, Sacred. You want to do Twitter Space or TikTok Space tomorrow? Just body nerds all day.